have the whites in control and then using their position really to deny African people certain rights, certain fundamental human rights. That tends to build amongst the Africans, I hope that will not be the case, but as frustration and to a certain extent hatred. I hope not, but there will be the tendency in that direction.
This is one thing that is currently dividing South African views at this moment, with many people accusing the ANC of using this for political survival, for political gain, and also accusing NPA of being a political tool in the hands of the ANC. I'm going to be sharing the information as I found it from various platforms, and at the end I'm going to share the people's views on this matter, and as well as my own views a bit. Welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. Please do understand that I'm not a politician. I do not have deep knowledge in politics. However, I am a South African citizen who is also a voter, and I do believe that my views count when it comes to political affairs of our gorgeous country. I'm just going to start by reading a post by the ANC Justice for Chief Albert Luthuli. The ANC welcomes the reopening of the inquest into the death of Chief Albert Luthuli, Nobel Peace Laureate and President General of our movement, banned, silenced and surveilled by an apartheid regime that feared his vision of a united non-racial South Africa. His 1967 death remains shrouded in suspicion. So we must never undermine this, what it means to the families, because it is easier for us to just say, no, the ANC shouldn't have done this, or whatever, the NPA shouldn't have done this. Please share your views in the comment section. But it could also have been good for this to be led by a political party that is doing well when it comes to service delivery in South Africa, but my views will come later. So just continuing on that post by the ANC, this is a step towards justice, exposing apartheid crimes and letting truth triumph over decades of lies. Justice for Luthuli. So what are your views, guys? And many people have been asking the question, why now? Also, Action SA came out to say Action SA welcomes the reopening of the inquest into the deaths of Chief Albert Luthuli and human rights lawyer and activist Griffith Mxenge. Guys, you know, my thing is, if the ANC was doing so well in leading this country, this could have been supported in a heartbeat. We wouldn't have the division that we see right now. The reason why people, according to me, I know jumping the gun because I was supposed to share my own views right at the end. I just feel like it's going to be lost somewhere. I might even forget as I go. But if the ANC was doing so well leading this country, you know how many people would have supported this? There won't be even people, there won't be as much people as we see now questioning this. Why is it being done now? But before we go any further, I want you to hear what the people said, like your historians, the human rights lawyer, and the ANC itself through the mouth of Jeff Radebe.
I'm incredibly touched by this moment. I think it's a very important moment. I think these kind of processes are essential in bringing closure to the families and communities of these great leaders. And we've seen in the past inquests into the deaths, such as the inquest to Imam Abdul Heron, have brought incredible closure to the family and the communities. And they've answered a lot of questions that the families and the communities have had for long periods. And so I think it is an incredible stride. And as lawyers for human rights, we definitely welcome this inquest.
It's a bittersweet moment, I would say, because I think it's such a long time coming. And I think some of the people who probably would have needed this closure are no longer with us. But I think at the end of the day, this creates an opportunity for those of us who are left to finally close some of the painful chapters of our history and move forward. I think it also creates an opportunity for those families who are still trying to get the stories around their relatives out there. You know, it's motivation for them to kind of sound the alarm around those unsolved cases. And it's an interesting time because, I mean, if you take, for instance, the Mxenge assassination, you know, his killers were granted amnesty. And what that means is, you know, they would not be liable for prosecution ever again. So to revisit his death and for it to potentially go to trial after the inquest means that, you know, we are also then, this might mark a precedent for those other cases that were granted, or those other killers that were granted amnesty at the TRC, for instance, the killers of Ruth First, who are alive, you know, could face the justice that they deserve to face.
If you are one of the people who are asking the question, why now? Because many people are confused, like this thing happened like many years ago. Probably the people that committed this crime are no longer living. Even if they are living, they are not fit to even stand trial. Why are we having this? Why is this happening? So for me, I cannot say this is wrong. You know why? Because it involves human beings, families of the people that are involved in this, the people who were unalived, they have their families. I don't think that void can leave those families until they get closure that is satisfying that void, you see. But then again, it remains questionable. Why now? Like, why now? You see, many people are questioning it. It says not only me that is questioning it. The question, why now? What is going to happen? But then again, I remember that there are families. You see, no matter how long this has been, the families cannot forget. But if you are asking yourself, why now? Please let us hear from Jeff Khatebe, why now?
Will be reopened, but what is the significance thereof, especially after so long since the events that claimed the lives of Inkosi Albert Luthuli alongside Mr. Mxenge?
Thanks, Adesha, for inviting me to your program. As I've indicated, as the ANC, we're very happy that eventually the truth will be revealed as this inquest starts tomorrow. Because if you recall, in 1967, we learned that our President General Chief Albert Luthuli was killed in a car in a goods train accident. Shortly before his murder, there was a decision that was taken by the then Commander-in-Chief of Umkhonto weSizwe, the military wing of the ANC, President Tambo, together with the Vice President of ZAPU, the Zimbabwe African People's Union, James Chikerema, that they're going to be getting into then Rhodesia to fight their way to South Africa. So that decision is the one that made the regime to take that decision to kill our President Chief Albert Luthuli, who had played a very critical role not only in uniting the ANC but all race groups in South Africa. As you know, that in 1955 it was during the presidency of Luthuli that the Congress of the People met in Kliptown to adopt what has become a blueprint for the new South Africa, the Freedom Charter.
I mean, speaking of that exemplary leadership, Mr. Khatebe, let's look at the type of leader that the former president of the ANC actually was. An exemplary leader who actually instilled principles of fighting for the liberation as well as the rights of our people, leading that defiance campaign against those past laws as well as other apartheid laws, and looking at the current leadership and the state that the party finds itself in currently. Would you say you're still following in his footsteps and also emulating his beliefs on the current challenges that are currently plaguing the country?
Well, first of all, talking about the exemplary leadership of President Luthuli, let's start there. He was a chief Inkosi of Amakholwa in Gradville, now called KwaDukuza. He was not born into chieftainship, but he was elected by people of that area, indicating the prestige with which our people held him. So as the president of the ANC, the regime at that time gave him an ultimatum to become a chief or to become the president of the ANC. He chose neither, indicating that exemplary leadership. So they stripped him of the chieftainship role, but he became, as we all know, the people's chief. So we want to emulate that example. We know that we have done very badly last year in the provincial and national election, but we are recommitting ourselves to go back to the roots and also to follow Ubaba Luthuli, like the great freedom song says, Somlandela Luthuli, Lapo Eya Kona.
I'm glad you mentioned.
Okay, let us read the people's views. This one says the NPA cannot solve crimes from a few years back. How are they going to solve apartheid era crimes? A valid question. And this one says, yes, take the focus off the current problems we have in this country and focus on the past. This will not solve anything. And I have to say, this is one of the few times when people of all races agree on one thing. I see this as another sheer waste of taxpayers' money. This could be done when the country is financially stable again. Government institutions and parastatals should set their priorities right. And this one says, sort out current cases first. The old apartheid cases are not going anywhere. Do them after you have caught up with all the recent cases from the last 10 years. Guys, please don't forget to share your views in the comment section. This one says, anything to divert attention from actual problems. The past criminals have been punished by punishing every member of their race through BEE. Do you agree with this view? Please, this is an interesting view. Please share your views on this view, like especially this view. And this one says, by implementing general laws that input the crimes of the criminal white politicians during apartheid onto every white person, that should mean those crimes have already been punished because every white person pays for it. I'd much rather get the current criminals held accountable before I'm held liable for their crimes. Hey guys, I don't want to lie. But you know, South Africans, I'm talking about all the black, white, all races, Indian, whatever. There's a way I can see a South African comment whenever I see it. This is one of them. This one. You know, it screams South Africa. And this one says, last kick of a dying horse, MKP and others have arrived. They were cruising nicely all this time. When you say they were cruising nicely all this time, he's talking about the ANC, that the competition is there. You know what the thing is for me? I just feel like as much as things are changing, we remain in the same spot. Do you get what I mean? I'm talking about politically now. All the political parties that we see today, it's like we are not going anywhere slowly. Anyway, this one says, some people think we are all idiots. They opening these investigations because they know very well that all the white people who killed those leaders are now dead. It's all for PR. Ask yourself, why would you wait 31 years to launch an investigation into the death of your people? Valid question. And this one says, sure, ignore treason by ANC cadres, but let's open apartheid cases. Guys, I just want to share my views on this one. I'm going to be very short. What I'm saying is, it is easier for us to say, no, forget this, set it aside. Do you understand? I also understand the people that are saying those cases are not going anywhere, and probably the people that committed those crimes are no longer living. And even if they are not fit enough to stand trial. You can save the money and focus on the cases by the criminals who are living today, right? Fine. And so, I'm not the one to say don't do it at all, because there are families involved. No matter how long this is, the thing is, human beings are involved, and those human beings have families. Families need closure, right? And the question for me would be, why now? Why is it so urgent? Why quickly? It takes us back to what the people are accusing the ANC of, because it really does look like it's a PR stunt trying to survive and all of that, that's how it looks like. But then again, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm just going to focus on if the ANC nailed the leadership. Do God, I know, okay. There are certain things I would say, and there are certain things I would believe that this was a spiritual. This one is spiritual. This one is spiritual. What I'm saying is, if they nailed the leadership of this country, do you know how many people would be supporting this? I was going to be one of them. I wouldn't even ask about the timing and all of that. I wouldn't even be questioning anything. I would just be there supporting. Number two, the thing is, they have been messing up the leadership to an extent that everything that they do now looks suspicious. No matter how good the intentions are, there's a general feeling that, it's either they want to eat or they just want to survive. So it is all on them. I always say, nowadays in my videos, that when you criticize, like you want to criticize the DA and you say it's a racist party and whatnot, and black people should unite under one political party, show us excellence. Because now we are like orphans. We're trying to look where to fit in, where to survive. I'm talking about politically now, who to vote for, who can take us forward in this life. We can't find that person because excellence is so rare in our leadership. I'm not saying it's not there. It's not there. The thing is, the ones that do good, they get suffocated in the shadow of those who are not doing well, because the number of the ones that are not doing well is huge than the one of those who actually do well for the benefit of all. Anyway, geekers, if you watched up to here, I would like to say thank you for watching my videos. Don't forget to share your views in the comment section. I'll try and be reading those, and I'll be seeing you in my next upload. Do have a lovely evening.